All right, okay. So then it's over to you.
Hello. Hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay. So I hope you're having a good time here. So you've been here since morning. I hope you're working on some interesting stuff, throwing around a few ideas. It's always great to come to an event like this where there's people from different backgrounds who usually have different opinions on what the future of applications should look like, what a good mobile application is like. And it's always great to exchange ideas and work around with people who you usually don't meet. So what I'm going to talk about is a quick discussion on designing future-proof Android applications. So what does future-proof mean? Can someone take a guess? What future-proof means? What I mean by future-proof? Okay, Rajnikant, I'm sure can use it. See, Rajnikant made Android. He really doesn't need to. Applications aren't his thing. Yeah, that's a bad joke from him. That's not from me. I'll move on to mine. So, okay, so future-proof applications are ones which will last long, which will stand the test of time. Because as we know, there's just too many applications these days. There are way too many applications. There's way too many phones out there. There are way too many developers, and smartphones aren't a novelty anymore. They aren't what they used to be in terms of the magic, in terms of the excitement it delivered to people. That doesn't happen anymore. We all remember when the Android phones that used to come on to the market 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they used to generate so much excitement. And oh my god, this is a high resolution display. Oh my god, this is 5 megapixels of camera. I still remember the time when Nokia launched their first camera phone. It was a big thing back then. Now, 13 megapixel cameras and people don't even look at them. Everyone's like, what? It's just a camera, big deal. There are too many applications. We as users, both, all of us, we have way too much choice. A simple application like a weather application, do a weather search on the Play Store, on the App Store, you find thousands and thousands of applications just to tell you the weather. Which is funny. You could just walk out to your window and look out. But no, there will be 1,000 applications to tell you that it's not going to rain 3 years down the line on this day at that city. That's how it is. There's just an abundance of things every time. There are too many developers. There's too many of us. Look at us. This is just Bangalore, and there's a bunch of us sitting around here working on things, devouring through our Saturday. But around the world, there's just too many of us. Everyone is equipped with a smartphone. It's a powerful computer in your pocket everywhere around you, and everyone wants to take advantage of it. Everyone wants to see what is it that I can build for consumers that will really add value. That will tell the consumer, that will probably change the consumer's life. Somewhere solve a problem that he always had, that she always faced, and suddenly my application will erase that. So, now what? I don't know how many people know about this guy. I hope you all know. This is a quote from Steve Jobs. That design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. So when someone says that, hey, that application, that messaging application on Android is so well designed, it doesn't necessarily mean that the application looks really good. Just because it looks really good, or just because it has very nice animations, loads quickly, that doesn't mean it's a well-designed application. The point of a messaging application is to send messages. If your messaging application takes a second more to send the SMS than say some other not as good-looking application, no one's going to use your application. It doesn't matter. When I'm talking to someone who I really want to talk to, I want my messages to go like that. I don't want it, like you could have 20 animations and they might delay the sending time, they might not, it just doesn't add to the experience. It doesn't add to the value of the application, and the value of the application that me as a consumer is deriving is sending messages. So, I'm going to talk about a bunch of things quickly on what one can look at when they're actually designing an application, when you're actually thinking, when you're on the drawing board with your programmer, with your designer, and you're thinking, okay, this is what it is, this is the problem that we have, and this is the kind of application that we want to build. How do you go about that? What are some of the questions that you should probably ask yourself, you should ask your designer And some of the things that you should keep in mind, no matter what you're designing, no matter what you're working on. This is irrelevant of what genre of application or game that you're developing. So the first thing is solve an actual problem. If your application isn't actually solving a problem, I am not going to use it. Sure, I could download it because my friend told me, yeah, you want to see application. This looks really nice. You have to look at this now. It's so cool. This just does this glitzy little thing. I'll download it and install it for a week. I'll look at it and then it'll just sit in my launcher at the bottom of the drawer somewhere, and I'm never going to look at it because it isn't solving a problem. Technology to us is so important because it enables the common man to solve problems that he probably had to spend a lot of money on, or that she probably had to spend a lot of time. That's the advantage that smartphones and these powerful little computers in our pockets are giving us. That's the advantage that we're actually solving problems for people. Don't follow the herd. Don't follow the herd because you don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. Hey, just because everyone is building a WhatsApp clone, let me also build a WhatsApp clone. Now, if you look at, I was watching TV the other day at a restaurant, and there was a television ad for WeChat. Now, if you think about it, that's hilarious. There are television advertisements, and these advertisements cost a lot of money. People are spending millions of dollars into taking people from one messaging platform to the other messaging platform, from that messaging platform to some other messaging platform. It doesn't matter eventually whether I'm using WeChat or HipChat or WhatsApp or Line or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that all those applications are serving the same purpose to me. Yet, WhatsApp was one of the first applications that came out. It's actually done by two ex-Yahoo employees. I'm sure Yahoo regrets their decision not to hire them. But WhatsApp is really, really popular. And it's much more popular than other attempts that have come about in the past few years. And there are subtle reasons why that happened. There are subtle reasons what things that WhatsApp gets right. One of the first and foremost and probably the most important thing that I think WhatsApp gets right is that it sends messages very, very reliably. I'm going to talk about this more in a minute, but I think that's one of the most important parts of the messaging application that even very popular applications get wrong. In fact, this application was an Indian application called Hike. It has this perennial problem on iOS where you send a message to someone and after 3 minutes it will tell you, oh, we couldn't send that message. Okay, why are you telling me? That's your job. Think out of the box. Just because there are X, Y, Z solutions to a problem doesn't mean that those are the only solutions to the problem. Maybe there is another way to solve that problem. Maybe there's a simpler, faster way that you can think of. Just because everyone thinks that, oh, you know what, camera application should look like this. There should be a button here, and when you focus, then you take a photo. Maybe that's not the way that you were supposed to build a camera application. Maybe if you scrap out everything and think of it in terms of what exactly is it that a camera application wants me as a consumer to do, you might come up with some very good ideas. I can give you an example which isn't related to Android, but a couple of months ago I heard of this camera company in San Francisco called Lightro. How many of you have heard of Lightro? Right. So Lightro is this fantastic camera company that's building this strange camera that solves a very simple problem, which is the problem of focusing. So when you take a photograph from a Lightro camera, it actually, in a very short span of time, takes multiple exposures at different focus points. So you can take a photograph and then later on decide, change the focus and see, oh, I don't want to focus here. If I take a photo here, I actually wanted to focus on Dushyant. So you can move the slider around and it will make Dushyant clear. Move the slider around and it will make the background clear. It's extremely simple. It's a very simple thought if you think about it. That's the major problem in cameras and in processing photos. Photos are blurry. Half the time you're at a party, everyone's having fun, everyone's moving, click a photo and everything's blurry. There's no point. There's no fun after looking at photos like this. And that's a great way. That's a very well designed camera, even though it's not on Android, but that's great. Think inside the box. Now, you might think that it's contrasting that, hey, you know what, first he talks about think outside the box and blah blah blah, now he's thinking inside the box. So, by I think inside the box, I mean, don't try to reinvent solutions that are already existing and solutions that already work very well. Very good example of this is cryptography. So people who work on security-based stuff will know that this is a very basic rule of security. It's a rule 0 of security. Never try to reinvent security yourself. Don't think that, oh, you know what, I am not going to use this silly RSA algorithm. I'm going to write my own security algorithm. It's going to be so good, no one's ever going to break through it. No, that's a bad idea. Security as a field is so well researched, and there's a reason why most security algorithms around the world, most hashing algorithms around the world are open source. Because they've been verified by people who are much smarter than you and me. They've been verified by security researchers, by academics. They know, everyone knows that these are algorithms that work very well. And you should just simply use them. Because if there was a problem with one of them, by now those millions of people who've been researching and trying ways to break through them, they would have found a way to break through. They haven't, it's the reason that they haven't is because these thousands of people around the world are sitting and trying to build something that's extremely simple yet works all the time. That's one of the things that, one of the reasons and one of the places where you probably shouldn't think outside the box. Think inside the box. Don't always think that, hey, you know what, I'm not going to, let me not put a back button on my Android application. When someone hits back, let me just not do anything. Let me also trap the home button so that once my application is launched, the user will never be able to quit. Yeah, he always use my application. No, you're delivering bad user experience. That's usually really not nice. I'll quickly run through some examples now. So, example number 1. Don't ask the user to repeat if it is your application's mistake. This is the same example as WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a great messaging application because if I have a smartphone, I'm walking around the room, I'm doing stuff in my house, I'm going out, I'm going inside, I could be doing anywhere, anytime. At any point in my day, at any point in our day, you know how shabby networks are. Network will go away. It will just randomly disappear, GPRS will go away, 3G will drop, Airtel itself will die for a couple of seconds and then network will come back. In the meantime, you're still talking to people. You might still be messaging someone, you might be messaging something important to someone. It's not your job as a user to ensure that the application does send a message. It is the application's responsibility. It is our responsibility as developers and designers to build applications that do what they're supposed to do. And if they don't ask the user to do it. You as an application designer figure it out yourself that something that we tried to do did not happen and maybe we should try again. Look at Gmail. It's a great example of an email application. In Gmail, if you send an email through Gmail right now and you don't have network, it will not even tell you that the email did not go. It will store the message in an outbox and it will wait till you have a network connection and then send the email. An application that does this really bad is Facebook Messenger. I don't know how many of you use Facebook Messenger here. Anyone has had a bad experience with Facebook Messenger? Bad experience?
Very bad.
Very bad. So if you actually try using Facebook Messenger, you're talking to someone, hey, hi, what's up, nothing, I'm good. And after 2 minutes, it'll tell you, message not sent, message not sent, message not sent. You were replying in context or something, and after a while, it will tell you that, oh, those 10 messages you sent last hour ago, I couldn't actually send. And then when you go and tap on them, it will say, should I try again? That's extremely bad behavior. Why is the application asking me as a user if I should try again or not? No, don't tell me that you failed. You try again yourself. And then if you do tell it to try again, it will send 3 of those 4 messages and reorder them. So then suddenly your hey, hi, nothing I'm cool will become nothing I'm cool, hey, hi. It completely wrecks your entire conversation. It is horrible. It has never been fixed. It's still as bad. Small lessons to keep in mind. The obvious way is not the only way. So the example I'm going to give here is of a weather application whose name I have forgotten. I have been trying to hunt for that weather application since yesterday evening and I cannot find it. It was a very simple weather application that one of my friends told me. It was on iOS. I don't think it was on Android. I don't remember what it was called. All it did was that you install the application, you keep your phone and you're working around the day and it automatically detects your location. It knows that you're in Bangalore. If in the next 12 hours or tomorrow, if it's late in the night, if it expects rain, all it will do is it will play a thunderstorm sound for 10 seconds. That's all it does. So you're doing work around the house, suddenly your iPhone will start playing thunderstorm sound and it will be like rain sounds and like cloud bursts and stuff. That's all it did. It had no interface, it had no way to change locations, it had no way to bookmark weather and asking the weather for 2 days later. That's all it did. It was a great idea. It's a great idea if you think about it. That's all it did. It's something that can be built so quickly. You could probably build it in right now. If you start building it, you could probably build it in a day. Have no interface, nothing. Just query the weather service and ask, is it going to rain or have a thunderstorm in the next 12 hours? And just play a thunderstorm sound for 10 seconds in the news. This is simple. I mean, I remember this. I don't remember the name of the application because I don't use iOS myself. But considering the garage of applications all of us see every single day, it was one of those things that completely stood out from every other weather application I've seen so far. I'm yet to find something that is as simple and as this. Fortunately, I can't find the same one itself. The obvious way is sometimes the current. An example of this is the stock messaging application on Android. Now, so if you try it right now, if you send a message to me, and let's say I'm playing a game, and you send an SMS to me, I'll receive a message, I'll pull down my notifications bar, I'll tap your notification, it will open the messaging application, I'll hit a reply to you, and then I hit back. What happens when I hit back? What do you think should happen when I hit back?
Back to the game.
It should go back to the game. What do you think happens on messaging?
It goes back to the home screen.
It actually goes back to the messaging list. It goes to your inbox, and then you hit back, and then it goes back to the home screen. It has completely destroyed context for the user. That's one of the I'd say that's one of the most powerful points about Android, and that's something that is one of the major reasons why Android delivers such good user experience. Is because unlike other mobile platforms, Android is very contextual. You're writing an email. Quickly, you're writing something, and you receive a text message. You open a notification. Hit your text message, you type something to the text message, you get a calendar invite, you open the calendar and you would say, okay, accept this invite. And then you hit back, you'll go back to the messaging app. You hit back again, you go back to email. A good Android designed application, a well-designed application on Android seamlessly does this so well that you forget that you're using multiple applications, which is the whole goal of Android to begin with. The goal of Android with the back button and with having applications seamlessly merged together was to give the user present this, let's say a movie to the user in a manner. That the user doesn't even realize that he just switched between multiple applications done by multiple people. But it doesn't matter to the user because to the user his task is important. The user doesn't care, am I using iMessage to send a message and should I go back to TuneIn Radio to play my music? No. It shouldn't matter to us. Our lives are already complicated enough. We already have notifications of email and bills to pay and relatives to visit and thousands of things to do. We don't want another complicated device at our hand. You don't want to mess around with those things again. That's all. That's some of the things that I wanted to talk about. These points are some of those points which are mistakes that I have done myself over the past 3 years, honest confession. These are some of the things that I find are mistakes in applications that I use regularly, and I wish the developers figured it out that you're causing pain to people who use their applications regularly. But that's just artists. It's something that now I try to keep in mind. It's hard because for us as programmers and designers, we just see the application side of things. To us, this is what we see, our laptops, sitting around with our team and thinking about when is that deadline, when is that milestone, what I have to sign that release and upload it to the Play Store. To the user, that doesn't matter. To the user, your application is somewhere making or breaking a part of his life. You might do something well designed and it might just simplify some part of his life. It will bring a smile to his face. It will bring a smile to your face. That's a power that we hold. That's a power that we as designers and developers hold. That we can change right now from this room, change a part of someone else's life. My name is Pratul. You can find me on Twitter at LUT4RP. I work at a design studio called Uncommon, and we build and design Android applications and web applications. That's all. Thank you. Anyone questions? Thoughts? If you disagree with some of my points, if you have something else to say.
We can take it offline.
Yeah, sure.